Now to new details in the investigation into the Gene Hackman, who received an emotional tribute at last night's Oscars just days after he and his wife were found under suspicious circumstances.
Breaking news, you're looking at video of one of the last times Oscar winner Gene Hackman, a known recluse in recent years, was seen in public.
The world was left stunned when the news of Gene Hackman's passing broke. An actor whose presence on screen defined generations, now at the center of a mystery that seems stranger than fiction. But it wasn't just the peculiar circumstances surrounding his departure that captured the public's imagination. It was what came after, when the FBI stepped into the picture and uncovered something no one could have anticipated. Beneath Hackman's sprawling New Mexico mansion, nestled in a remote area shrouded in privacy and secrecy, lay a hidden tunnel system that defied explanation. What exactly was Gene Hackman hiding? And could this be the key to finally unraveling the enigma of his life?
And here in Santa Fe, Sheriff's Department officials who are working behind me have yet another high-profile case on their hands. Aaron, you and I covered at length the Alec Baldwin case, that fatal shooting on the set of the movie Rust. This is the same investigative team that worked that case.
Let's rewind for a second and set the stage. Gene Hackman's estate was no ordinary home. It was a multi-million-dollar fortress, perched in some of the most beautiful, yet secluded terrain you could imagine. Towering gates shielded the property from even the most curious passersby, while the house itself was described as part Pueblo, part colonial New Mexico, and part Spanish Baroque, a blend that felt more like a private museum than a residence. Hackman, a notoriously private man, had lived there with his wife, Betsy Arakawa, for decades, far removed from the glitz and chaos of Hollywood. It was here that Hackman retreated from the public eye after his retirement, immersing himself in painting, writing, and a quiet life away from the limelight. But what appeared to be a tranquil retreat now holds secrets that no one could have foreseen.
As Hollywood gets ready to honor its best at the Academy Awards this weekend, there are still unanswered questions about the of two-time Oscar winner Gene Hackman and his wife. The couple was found this week in their New Mexico home. On Friday, investigators ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning and revealed other clues that may lead them to determine what did happen.
When authorities entered the home, they initially sought answers to what had transpired during Hackman's final days. Yet it was what lay beneath the mansion that quickly stole their focus: a tunnel. Not just any tunnel, mind you. This was a hidden passageway that didn't appear on any blueprints, a secret space that Hackman had never spoken about to anyone. The mere existence of it was enough to raise eyebrows, but what the FBI found inside turned this discovery into something far more chilling.
Much of the investigation is happening just up this road, behind gates and a guard, in an affluent neighborhood where homes are separated by acres of land. That's where Hackman and his wife chose to live, decidedly secluded.
The descent into the tunnel was like stepping into a scene from a suspense film. Agents, flashlights in hand, carefully navigated their way down steep, creaky wooden stairs that led to a cold, damp space below the estate. The air was stale, the walls lined with rough, aged stone, and every step seemed to echo as if the walls themselves were whispering secrets. Dust hung thick in the air, undisturbed for what seemed like years, but it was the contents of the tunnel that truly set the tone for what was to come. Stacked along the walls were old wooden crates, their surfaces faded and splintered from time. Some were sealed shut, while others had rotted to the point of collapse, revealing glimpses of their contents. One crate in particular caught an agent's attention. It was slightly ajar, and inside lay a collection of photographs, yellowed with age, the edges curling. The images depicted unfamiliar faces, strangers from another era, engaged in what appeared to be clandestine meetings or gatherings. The locations in the photos were equally puzzling, showing places that didn't immediately match any known landmarks. Were these figures connected to Hackman in some way? And if so, how?
Have investigators been able to get into the obtained cell phones?
Not at this time. We have them in our possession. We'll be analyzing cell phone data, phone calls, text messages, events, photos in the cell phone to try to piece a timeline together.
But the photographs were just the beginning. Beneath them were leather-bound files, their bindings cracked and fragile. The papers inside were filled with scribbled notes, diagrams, and what appeared to be coded messages. The language was cryptic, almost indecipherable, as if someone had gone to great lengths to obscure whatever information they held. Had Hackman been keeping secrets from his Hollywood days? Or was this tunnel tied to something far older, something he stumbled upon when he purchased the property? As agents sifted through the crates, their unease only deepened. Another box contained personal effects, items that seemed out of place in a hidden underground space. Among them was a vintage pocket watch, ornate jewelry, and a small notebook. The notebook's pages were filled with handwritten entries, but these weren't ordinary musings. They seemed more like confessions or fragments of memories, recounting events that didn't align with anything known about Hackman's public life. Was this his handwriting, or had someone else left these behind? The deeper the agents explored, the stranger the discoveries became. In a darker corner of the tunnel where the flashlight beam barely reached, they spotted an iron door. Its surface was rusted, and there was no visible handle, only a heavy lock that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. What was behind this door? Theories began to swirl among the team. Could it be a forgotten safe room designed for emergencies, or was it something more sinister, a vault for secrets that Hackman, or perhaps someone before him, had sought to bury from the world?
Due to the unusual circumstances of two decedents in the residence, there was a concern for scene safety. Santa Fe City fire personnel and the New Mexico Gas Company were requested to the scene to test for carbon monoxide or other foreign elements. The scene was deemed safe, and approximately 9:30 p.m., a search warrant was issued and executed on the residence.
And then there were the symbols. Carved into the stone walls of the tunnel were strange markings, their meanings unknown. Some resembled ancient runes, while others looked like they belonged to a complex cryptographic system. They were meticulously etched, not the work of someone casually scratching a surface. Was Hackman responsible for these carvings? Or had they been there long before he ever set foot on this land? Rumors began to spread like wildfire. Neighbors, already reeling from the shock of the initial investigation, started sharing stories of strange occurrences over the years. Some recalled seeing mysterious figures entering and leaving the property late at night, their identities concealed by the shadows. Others whispered about workers who had been hired for renovations on the mansion, only to abruptly disappear from the area without explanation. Could these tales be connected to the tunnel's existence? And if so, what role did Hackman play in all of this? The FBI's silence on the matter only added fuel to the fire. Official statements were brief and vague, offering little insight into the true nature of the discoveries. This lack of transparency sparked a frenzy of theories online, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Some speculated that the tunnel was part of a larger underground network, a hidden labyrinth connecting multiple properties in the region. Others believed it contained evidence of a long-buried conspiracy, its details too dangerous to share with the public. Whatever the truth, one thing was clear. The secrets of that tunnel were not going to be easily unraveled.
Well, first of all, anytime you have two bodies deceased at the same place at the same time, that in and of itself is suspicious. And then, of course, the dog also being deceased added to that suspicion. And then the pills being found scattered about. The whole situation really is quite alarming.
Even more perplexing were the tools found within the tunnel. Some appeared to be ordinary tools that a skilled craftsman might use, but others were more unusual, resembling devices designed for experiments or procedures that defied explanation. What could these have been used for, and why were they hidden so far beneath the surface? The markings on the walls seemed to hint at a purpose, but their meanings remained elusive, leaving investigators and the public alike grasping for answers. As the investigation continued, the focus shifted back to Hackman himself. Here was a man celebrated for his gritty, unforgettable roles on screen, a two-time Academy Award winner who had left an indelible mark on cinema. Yet his private life had always been something of a mystery. Friends and former colleagues began to share anecdotes, some of which now seemed to take on a new significance. They spoke of Hackman's fascination with history and his occasional cryptic remarks about the past. Could these have been subtle clues to the secrets he was guarding? As agents combed through the scattered clues, trying to piece together the puzzle, the world watched with bated breath, eager for each new revelation. What lay beneath Gene Hackman's mansion was more than just a tunnel. It was a gateway to a story no one had anticipated, a tale of intrigue and mystery that seemed more suited to one of his films than real life. Yet the question remained: how much of this was connected to Hackman himself, and how much of it was a legacy of the land he called home?
Nearly a week since Gene Hackman's body was discovered. This morning, while authorities have ruled out some scenarios, they still don't know what happened to Hackman.
Standing at the precipice of discovery, the investigators were left with more questions than answers. What was the purpose of this hidden passageway? Who had built it and why? And most pressing of all, what secrets did it hold about the man who had lived above it for so many years? As they prepared to delve deeper into the tunnel's mysteries, one thing was certain. The answers, if they ever came, would change the narrative of Gene Hackman's life forever.
Didn't mean for certain that carbon monoxide as the cause of can be ruled out. In certain situations, especially when it comes to delayed discovery, post-mortem carbon monoxide levels can be on the
writes he was the face of Hollywood grit and determination, a powerhouse actor who could embody roles as varied as a crooked sheriff, a hard-nosed detective, or even the charmingly villainous Lex Luthor. Yet behind the screen, behind the awards and accolades, Hackman remained a shadowy figure, a man fiercely protective of his privacy, guarding his true self from the prying eyes of the world. Was this secret tunnel merely an eccentric quirk of a reclusive actor, or was it a reflection of something far more complex?
It's weird because I knew a lot of them, so they weren't intimidating. Meeting Gene Hackman the first time, was like, but then finding out he was so funny, that was a great thing.
Yeah.
When I saw him, he did that speech in Birdcage where he just said that thing about in the leaves, and at that point, you slowly, but he did it so, it's a hard thing to make boring hysterical. And he did it.
Yeah.
And he did it perfectly. He had this.
Gene Hackman's rise to fame was the kind of story Hollywood dreams are made of. Born in San Bernardino, California, Hackman's early years were anything but glamorous. His father walked out on the family when Hackman was just 13 years old, leaving a young boy to grapple with feelings of abandonment and a longing for stability. Perhaps that's where Hackman's ability to tap into raw emotion on screen came from, those formative years when he had to learn to fend for himself. Later, he joined the Marines, bluffing his way in at just 16 years old. It was a decision that shaped his early life, giving him structure and discipline, but also a deep disdain for authority that would color many of his most iconic roles.
What was it like being on a set with Gene Hackman?
Well, Gene, people ask all the time, who's the best actor, who's the biggest star, who's the blah, blah, blah. The line's long for the great actors I've been able to work with, really is. But I would say probably Gene was the best actor that I'd ever worked with.
After his stint in the military, Hackman found himself drawn to acting, enrolling at the Pasadena Playhouse in California. It was here that he befriended another struggling actor, Dustin Hoffman. The two were voted least likely to succeed by their peers, a judgment they would both go on to defy spectacularly. Hackman eventually made his way to New York City, sharing an apartment with Hoffman and another aspiring actor, Robert Duvall. Can you imagine that? Three future legends living together, hustling for roles and navigating the harsh realities of the industry. It's almost poetic.
Well, this week, our community lost a giant, and I lost a dear friend, Gene Hackman.
Hackman's big break came in 1967 with the film Bonnie and Clyde, where he played Buck Barrow, the bumbling yet lovable brother of Warren Beatty's Clyde. The role earned him his first Oscar nomination and put him on Hollywood's radar. From there, his career skyrocketed, whether it was as Popeye Doyle in The French Connection, a role that won him his first Oscar, or as the morally conflicted detective in The Conversation. Hackman had a way of disappearing into his characters. And let's not forget his chilling performance in Unforgiven, which earned him his second Oscar. But despite his success, Hackman never seemed entirely comfortable with fame. He was the kind of actor who preferred to let his work speak for itself, rarely giving interviews and often retreating from the spotlight.
I had the pleasure of working alongside Gene on two films, Unforgiven and Under Suspicion. And like everyone who ever shared a scene with him, I learned he was a generous performer, and a man whose gifts elevated everyone's work.
It was this penchant for privacy that led Hackman to Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the 1980 SS. Here, far from the chaos of Hollywood, he and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, built a life of quiet seclusion. Their home was a masterpiece of design, blending Southwestern and Spanish influences with a touch of colonial grandeur. The sprawling property, surrounded by towering walls and dense foliage, was a sanctuary where Hackman could paint, write, and enjoy the peace he so desperately craved. But even in this idyllic setting, there were whispers of something more. Neighbors spoke of the couple's reclusive nature, noting that they rarely attended community events or mingled with locals. Some even claimed to have seen unmarked vehicles entering the property late at night, a detail that now seems all the more intriguing.
He received 2 Oscars, but more importantly, he won the hearts of film lovers all over the world. Gene always said, I don't think about legacy. I just hope people remember me as someone who tried to do good work.
As the FBI continues to investigate the tunnel beneath Hackman's mansion, new questions arise about the actor's life in Santa Fe. Was the tunnel part of the original property, or did Hackman commission its construction? If it was the latter, what could have prompted him to undertake such a secretive and elaborate project? Some have speculated that the tunnel was an escape route, a precaution taken by a man who valued his privacy above all else. Others believe it was used to store valuable items, artwork, documents, or perhaps even relics from Hackman's Hollywood days. But the most tantalizing theory is that the tunnel was a gateway to an underground network connecting Hackman's estate to other properties in the area. Could this network have been part of a larger covert operation, or was it simply the result of Hackman's eccentric imagination?
So I think I speak for us all when I say, Gene, you'll be remembered for that, and for so much more. Rest in peace, my friend.
Adding to the mystery are the strange symbols etched into the tunnel walls. Experts have yet to decipher their meaning, but some believe they could be linked to ancient cryptographic systems. The markings are precise, almost mathematical, suggesting a level of sophistication that seems out of place in a residential property. Were these symbols carved by Hackman himself, or do they predate his ownership of the estate? And if the latter is true, what does that say about the history of the land on which the mansion was built?
Right now we don't. Of course, we executed the search warrant yesterday, starting on the evening of the 26th, all into yesterday afternoon. And one of our investigators attended the autopsy yesterday. We don't have more information. We're trying to put things together, put together a timeline when the decedents were last seen or spoken to.
Hackman's friends and former colleagues have also weighed in, sharing anecdotes that paint a picture of a man both enigmatic and deeply complex. Stuart Ashman, a friend and fellow Santa Fe resident, described Hackman as a man of great intellect and curiosity, someone who was always asking questions and probing deeper into life's mysteries. Others recalled Hackman's fascination with history and his love of storytelling, traits that now seem to hint at a man who may have been harboring secrets of his own. Even Hackman's family has acknowledged the strange circumstances surrounding his life in Santa Fe. Leslie Ann Allen, his youngest daughter, admitted that she hadn't spoken to her father in months, but insisted that he was in good health and spirits the last time they connected. Could Hackman have been keeping his family in the dark about the true nature of his life in New Mexico? The discovery of the tunnel has also reignited interest in Hackman's Hollywood career and the relationships he formed during his time in the industry. Some have pointed to his friendship with Warren Beatty, noting the parallels between their lives as reclusive icons. Others have questioned whether Hackman's decision to retire from acting in 2004 was motivated solely by health concerns, or if there were other factors at play. Did Hackman know something we don't? Was he retreating not just from Hollywood, but from a larger world of intrigue and danger?
But they've clearly been for several days, and I'm saying days plural, in order to get that kind of mummification. One of the ways of figuring this out, obviously, is from the scene investigation to find out when did they last pick up the mail, when did they last check in with relatives, phone calls, those kind of things, because people generally will communicate with others during the course of their time.
As the public waits for answers, the story of Gene Hackman's secret tunnel continues to unfold like one of his own films, layered, suspenseful, and full of unexpected twists. Each new piece of information adds another dimension to the narrative, deepening the mystery and leaving us with more questions than answers. What was Hackman's true purpose in building the tunnel? Who were the figures in the photographs, and what role did they play in his life? And perhaps most importantly, what legacy has Hackman left behind, both as an actor and as a man? In many ways, the mystery of the tunnel feels like a fitting final act for a man who spent his life portraying characters caught in moral and existential dilemmas. Gene Hackman was a master of the craft, a storyteller whose performances left an indelible mark on the world. And now, as the secrets of his life slowly come to light, he has once again captured our imaginations, reminding us that the greatest stories are often the ones we least expect. Could the tunnel be Hackman's final masterpiece, a riddle designed to keep us guessing long after the credits have rolled? Or is it simply an unfinished chapter in a life that was always more complex than it appeared? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates as we continue to follow this unfolding story.